Good morning. Jamie and Susie told me I have to start, but I would rather just walk around and talk to everybody. Would you rather do it like that? I'll just come around to your tables and you can just eat your salad and... No, I'll have to talk like this. All right. Hey, isn't it fantastic to be in person? Without masks? What's the proper level of social distancing here? Like 3 feet? 3? I'm good? Okay. Thanks. How about you and Ron? You live together. All right. Well, it's great to be here with you all. This is kind of the moment we've been waiting for, right? And it's a shame that it's happening at the end of the best class ever instead of at the beginning. We did it at the beginning, but remember we had that wall in between us, and I was straddling the wall talking to, and that was crazy. But that was the best we could do at the time. So now we're opened up, and we're back together, and we're all good friends, and we're going to be good friends into the future. So that's what LEAD is all about. And this class, I know one of the big complaints was that we didn't have the in-person. We didn't have the networking ability. So get it done today and into the future, right? Everybody exchange cards, and let's all work together. So let me start with the most important information before I forget it. I'd like to thank our presenting sponsors who are with us today. So in the past, we've not had a presenting sponsor for this program, and then we had one for a year, and then we had 3 this year. So I say that that's progress, and we really appreciate you all coming on board. So the first one, Science, Systems, and Applications. And they're first because they got their check to me first. So that's why I'm... So Science, Systems, and Application. Anoop Mehta. I said that right? Okay. Thank you very much, Anoop. Jonathan Kelly, who is in LEAD class of 2020. He says it's the best class ever. It was the first pandemic class. You guys are the only class to go through an entire pandemic. So I say that makes you the best. Lelia Van. I said that right? Leela. All right, I'll get that right the next time. Leela Van. And nobody else. That's it. Thank you very much, SSAI, for being part of this and for being part of the program for as long as I know, and I think 5-6 years back, we've had somebody representing SSAI. Virginia Natural Gas, Chappelle Watkins White. Go Tar Heels. So thank you very much for your sponsorship. And Chappelle was part of our public policy committee at the Chamber for a couple of years, and then she got promoted, and we got somebody equally as good. But Chappelle's representing today. Thank you, Chappelle. And W.M. Jordan Company. They need no introduction. Thank you very much. Ron Lauster and John Engel. And John is on our board, so thanks for being on our board, John. Our annual partner in the room, James River Audiovisual Services, for all your audiovisual needs, John Triska. Thank you, John. Keynote speaker from our board also, Howard Hagee, the executive director. Is that what it is? President and CEO. Sorry for getting that wrong, Howard. I've only known Howard for 3 years, and I still can't get it right. Thanks for being with us to be the guest speaker today. And for those of you who don't know Howard, he's at the Mariners Museum, and they reopened with a bang this past weekend. So how'd that go? Fantastic. So how many of you have not yet been inside the Mariners Museum ever? All right. See Howard before you leave, and he'll arrange for a visit. Chairman of the board, Kevin Joyce. Is Kevin here yet? Kevin. So you all know Kevin. You'll see him in a little bit. And also representing the LEAD Peninsula Alumni Network, Tammy Fahrenholt, who is the chair. And Tammy is from the class of 2019. You can't get by without saying it. And vice chair, Jennifer Spratley. And Jennifer was 2019 also. And somebody who shares Jennifer's last name, Rod Spratley, who is our official photographer of the day, and he was class of 2020? Okay. And just let me point out, same last names. Tammy Fahrenholt has the same last name as my granddaughter. So, Fahrenholt. So that's pretty cool. And they don't know each other. But they're probably related sometime, a long time ago. All right. So, today, and you know how I start every one of these sessions, today is National Egg Day. Did anybody have eggs for breakfast today to celebrate National Egg Day? Or just because it's the perfect food? So I think eggs are the perfect symbol of how science is never really settled. Because I don't, not many of you are as old as me, but I can remember a day when they said, you really can't eat a lot of eggs because of all the cholesterol. And now they say, egg is the perfect food, and eat it as much as possible. So I do. I eat it every day. So I just looked this up today. Perfect source of vitamin D, protein, which we all knew, 75 calories for one egg, and I'm assuming that's an average, for the size of an egg, 5 grams of fat. So it really is the perfect food, and it's filling. So that's what I have for lunch very often, and a soft pretzel from Wawa. That's not the perfect food. But the perfect tasting food is tomorrow's National Day. Guess what it is? Steed, you know. National Donut Day is tomorrow. So we really should have had this tomorrow so we could all have donuts. And you all know how much I like donuts. So on this date in history, in 1965, the first American astronaut walked in space. And it said, what I read was Major Edward White. I'm assuming that was a misprint. It was probably Lieutenant Commander Edward White because he was probably in the Navy. Do you know, Alan? Was he, or Captain America, was he Army or Air Force? Does anybody have a little computer in their pocket? They could look that up. Major Edward White. Okay, and in 1800, John Adams, our second president, moved into the Union Tavern in Georgetown as his temporary residence. So, first of all, that's a great place to live, right? You live in a tavern. Second of all, he lived there because they were still building the White House, and he moved into there November 1st, the same year. So, just interesting history facts. Who has good news? You can eat your salads, by the way. He was Air Force? Okay. Who has good news? Did you have good news, David? Yeah, so that's Alan's good news. Nobody has good news. Come on, somebody has to have good news. That's good news. We're here in person. That's really great news. So if nobody else has good news, I will share my good news. June 25th, 7th season of Bosch opens up. First episode. Anybody watch Bosch? I've read them too, Michael Connelly's books. Yeah. So June 25th. If you haven't seen the other 6 seasons, you have time to binge it between now and then. And the other good news is my granddaughter is moving to Greenville, North Carolina in July. So from Denver to Greenville, same time zone, 2.5 hours away. And she's moving with my daughter and son-in-law because she's not actually old enough to move herself yet, because she's only 9 months old. Greenville, North Carolina. So East Carolina University is where they're going to be assigned. So we got to talk. Okay, so remember back to the beginning of the class when we talked that day that I was straddling the wall, and we talked about the reason for this program? Does anybody really have any, want to say what the reason is, or you want me to say it? Okay, I have the microphone on, I get to talk. Okay, so it's a community immersion program. We said it's not really a leadership institute, but there are definite leadership principles that you take away from this course, right? You're all either emerging or recognized leaders already in your industries. And I think that participants should come away from this with some tools that help them to be leaders in the community. So that is always our goal in presenting program days, right? They have to be substantive. They have to contribute to your knowledge of the Peninsula. And we have to have good networking, which we didn't have great networking this year. But you should all leave this program as more equipped leaders in the community. So if you haven't done that, either we've done something wrong or you've done something wrong. So we appreciate your surveys because we use those surveys, as I've told you before, to drive continual improvement from program day to program day, but also from year to year. And now we've actually and I think, Jamie, who's on that task force? We have a task force that's working to completely revamp the course, not for next year's class, but for the class of 2023. So Jonathan is on that, yeah, so from the shipyard. So Jennifer Spratley and Tammy Farrenholtz. So we have a task force of about 6 or 7 people who are looking at past surveys, looking at the program days, looking at the program intent, and trying to drive continual improvement. And the way we're going to do that now is by driving, I think, more community focus on how you can go back to your place of work and become community leaders as well. So, and there's always been a little bit of that going on, but we're really going to focus on revamping the course to focus on that. All right, next page. Okay, networking, as we've said, networking is critical. And what I saw in the surveys from all of you, from your final surveys, I think the biggest criticism was we did most of these classes virtual, most of the program days virtual. And also, everybody who said that acknowledged the fact that we were virtual in just about everything that we were doing. Virtually everything we did was virtual for the past year. And we're finally coming out from under that shell. And we're going to break out of this tunnel, and things are going to be back to normal. And I don't like to say new normal, because we're just going to go back to normal, the way things were before, with some minor changes. But so the class next year, we're going to be in person the whole year. So one of the hot topics of the day is social capital. Did any of you get a chance to join us for the 757 visual Eyes on the Future panel on social capital? I know Howard got to join us on that because he was on the panel. But we did. So we do this 757 Vision Series that's focused on what are the hot button issues for restoring our economy and making it expand and grow. We had one about 2 months ago on reviving social capital. And social capital, for those of you who don't already know, is a set of shared values that enable people to stand to, what's this? I can't read my own notes. To stand together in society and live harmoniously. Local social capital is a solid predictor of how communities, neighborhoods, and regions will perform as engines of upward mobility and as economic growth and empowerment. So social capital is critical. So one of the things, and I think Howard was talking about this before, was that after the great storm of 2012, was it, Howard, up in New Jersey and New York, the great winter storm, the communities that recovered fastest and best from that were communities that had demonstrated good social capital. And good social capital is connectedness. And connectedness comes from people working together in organizations like Rotary Clubs and like Kiwanis and like Lead Peninsula, to network, to meet people, to expand their perspectives, right? So we all have our own, I wouldn't say maybe biases, but we see the world through our own perspective. And the only way that you can expand that is by meeting a great variety of people and working together with them on things that we have in common. So the things that we have in common certainly, I think, outweigh the things that divide us. So we see talk all the time from the national media about how divided we are as a country. And I look locally, and I see how united we are. So I see it in rooms like this. I see it when I go to the grocery store. I see it when I'm walking on the Nolan Trail. I see people who like each other, are polite to each other, are civil with each other, and are willing to work together on those common things that we share. And those are public safety and education and health care, recreation, right? Developing a better community, understanding that we all owe much more than just what we do from 9 to 5 and in within the walls of the offices that we work in from 9 to 5. So we got to get out in the community and work together and learn more about each other and talk about difficult issues and talk about them civilly, not yelling at each other, right? So my vision for Lead Peninsula is this is a gathering place where we bring in people, diverse people, not just, diversity. There's diversity of race, there's gender, there's sectors that you work in, there's backgrounds that you've come from, there's ages, right? So we have, Jameson, you're probably the youngest guy in the room, right? Jameson, how old are you? So is anybody younger than 25? Who's the oldest person in the room? Anoop, yeah, I know you're 24, but you're just a guest. Susie, you're the oldest? No. Well, anyway, so we have a diverse group here, right? From every perspective of diversity. And we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different opinions about things. But what I see is people who get along and who can talk to each other as adults. And that's the only way to develop better social capital, is by shared experience and working together. So go out and be ambassadors, not just for the chamber. I would like for you to do that, but for the Peninsula and for our society in general. And hopefully that's part of the takeaway from this class. And we'll be working on that with our, Jamie's doing this to me. She's like, Bob, you're talking too much. Okay, what else do I have? Lead should not, okay, I already talked about that. All right, I'm not talking about everything, Jamie. So let me just go, the surveys said, what were the top classes in order of favorite to least favorite? And you won't be very surprised to hear that the favorite 5 were the classes that we either did in person or hybrid, right? And that doesn't surprise me at all. Poverty simulation was number 1, and talk about social capital and seeing things through a different perspective. That is the prime example of a program day that teaches us all to see things through a different lens. So that's always the most popular. The next one was the hybrid government day, which was a local government day. Several of you said we should do a state day and a local day. So we're looking at that too. And we only have 10 program days to work with, right? So something has to go for something else to be added. And we'll figure that out. Public safety day. So being at the fire academy, everybody loved that, everybody that was there. But then the surprising thing to me was transportation, which is usually one of the top 2 or 3. Because it was virtual, was like number 7 or 8. So if any of you are interested next year, and Susie and Jamie are cringing right now, because we'll need another bus. If any of you are interested in joining us for, say, the transportation day next year, stay in touch and let us know. Orientation was number 10. And I assume that means because it was a little bit weird, right? All right. What else do I have to do now, Jamie? Everybody eat. Can I keep talking? All right, so let me just say, here's the takeaways from the surveys for us as a chamber staff. Virtual stinks, right? We get it. And I won't say that other word that begins with S because my mother beat me one time when I said that when I was about 8th grade, so I don't say it. Some days presentations lent themselves better to virtual, right? That's a takeaway, but it really is, we don't want to do the whole day virtually. So maybe what we'll do in the future is start a day in the chamber space with somebody from the state level government virtual. And because that was one of the best things about virtual is we were able to bring in higher level speakers on topics of relevance and timeliness. So we're going to continue to look at that. When you have a boring presenter, virtual makes it even worse. Captain Obvious, right? But when you're watching a boring presenter virtually, you can be in your pajamas. So that makes it better, right? And you can go to the refrigerator and get something to eat. Networking is critical. We keep beating this to death, but no one wants to do it virtually. So we had some of those virtual social kind of networking events, and about 6 or 7 people showed up. And no surprise, it was the same 6 or 7 people every time. So that was very difficult. Smaller class and a different type of orientation next year. So the class is going to be limited to 40 next year. And so spread the word around your companies. Get your application in early. So we're going to have 40 people in the class. We're going to have a different type of orientation, so we're not going to sit in a Holiday Inn conference room. We're going to go out and have a cookout or something like that, and Howard and Kevin are going to come cook burgers for you. And sometimes less is better. So one of the things we've learned over the last 3 years is when we start a day at 7 o'clock in the morning on the bus and we go until 5 o'clock at night because we want to show you so much in the transportation world or in the federal impact world or in the healthcare world, something gets lost in the process. So we need to pare down some of those days, make them more impactful, more substantive, and finish up earlier. So that's all I got for right now. Eat your meals, and we'll come back in a little bit with our guest speaker and our chairman. So thanks. All right, can I have everybody's attention? Hey, Amy. It's my turn. Okay, so we're going to get the program moving forward, and what I'd first like to do is, and I've already said thank you, but I'd like to once again offer my appreciation and gratitude to our sponsors, our presenting sponsors for the lead program and the lead class of 2021. Best class ever. So, and what we're going to do is we're going to have each of the presenting sponsors come up and offer a few remarks, and then we're going to go from there. So first, I would like to introduce my new friend, Anoop Mehta, and we got to go to lunch soon. But he works in Maryland, and he has to drive down here, or I have to drive up there. So, but Anoop Mehta from SSAI. So thank you very much, Anoop.
Thank you, Bob. So Jamie already told me that to cut my remarks short because she knew Bob was going to go over. So anyway, I don't know about you guys, but I had a hard time getting dressed this morning because I haven't put on a tie in 15 months. And the reason I'm not wearing a suit is because none of them fit me now. But I'm here. I'm very, very excited to be here, and I really want to thank the Virginia Peninsula Chamber of Commerce for allowing me to say a few words, and thank you, Bob. Bob, you're truly passionate about the well-being of this community, and it was great finally meet you, and yes, a new friend. I found a new friend. So, we're truly excited to sponsor this program. And why did we decide to do this? Well, when Jonathan Kelly, our VP, came up and said, we need to do this, and, I generally wind up listening to Jonathan and said, you're right, we need to do this. So along with Jonathan, I want to thank some of my colleagues that are here. Thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the time. So, I kind of know a thing or two about the LEAD program, and here's why. The program and its impact on the community. So back in 2010, I went through a similar program in Maryland. It's called Howard County Leadership Program. And I was the graduating class of 2010, the best class in Howard County. Yes, okay. So I kind of have an understanding firsthand of all the resources the county has, and certainly what are some of the challenges. So as we understand these challenges, we have a greater appreciation, and we can make a greater impact on the community. So the program was so fulfilling for me that I encouraged our senior leadership to participate in this program within their local community. So shortly after I finished, I encouraged our Chief Operating Officer to do that, our CFO to do that, and now we're doing it down here. So let me read something that one of the graduates wrote, and it's on your website. The LEAD Peninsula program is an excellent program connecting the local community businesses with the vast capability in the region. The program really opens your eyes to the capabilities, diverse business, which Bob talked about, and the opportunity in the Hampton Roads area. You get insight at a depth that most of the population will never see, and how businesses can have a greater impact on the sustainability of the region. That pretty much defines it. Guess what? That was the graduate who wrote that was my colleague, Jerry Hill. He went through this program a couple of years ago. So I have two of my colleagues that are in this program, Lauren, Karen. I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you that you took the time and went through this. So far, we've had 6 individuals go through this program. And I've told Jonathan, that every single year would like to have at least one individual go through this program. So this graduation ceremony, completion ceremony, whatever you want to call it, is just the beginning. You are leaders in the community, and the expectation is that you will take the knowledge you have gained and insert yourself in the community for the betterment and sustainability of the region. Congratulations to the entire graduating class. Your journey for the betterment of our community starts today. Thank you, guys.
He said he was going to keep it short, but so we have to move on. I'm just kidding. So next from Virginia Natural Gas, my friend Chappelle Watkins White. Go Tar Heels. She was waiting for me to say go Tar Heels.
If you haven't figured, I am a Tar Heel, a very proud one, and I bleed light blue blood. So good afternoon, and thank you to the Virginia Peninsula Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to share a few words with you. It is my honor to represent Virginia Natural Gas, which is among Lead Peninsula Class 2021's presenting sponsors. Virginia Natural Gas dates its origins back to 1850, and we serve nearly 300,000 residential, commercial, and industrial customers. We are committed to providing clean, safe, reliable, and affordable natural gas to fuel many of the businesses that employ you and for heating and cooking at your homes. Not only are we committed to excellent service to our customers, but we also hold sacred our aspiration to be a citizen wherever we serve. In 2020, Virginia Natural Gas donated more than $1.2 million to 45 charities and local historically black colleges and universities within our service territory, which stretches from the Virginia shore up through the county surrounding the city of Richmond. And that brings me to why we are a proud sponsor of Virginia Peninsula Chamber of Commerce. Let's say that 10 times fast. Lead Peninsula program. In particular, 2 of the 4 stated goals of this program are: first, build networks of regional leaders to positively transform the region, state, and country. And second, allow participants to utilize their unique strengths and interests to engage in the community in meaningful ways. These goals are critical to enhancing your communities and making a great passing of the baton as you take all the information, inspiration, and passion deposited into you by your co-participants, the Lead Peninsula staff, and all facilitators that you've received from by enlisting in this program. So in concluding my remarks, I'd like to leave you with a call to action. In 2002, Rick Warren wrote what became a #1 New York Times bestseller book called The Purpose-Driven Life: What on Earth Am I Here For? It was all the buzz at that time, and I began to question my purpose. As life evolved, it turned out that some of my most difficult life experiences have become my part in community impact. Likewise, I'm sure many of you have had life challenges and would encourage you to take those lessons from those experiences and make a meaningful impact to positively change your communities. So congratulations to this class, and I'll say it for you all, the best class ever.
That was great. Call to action. That's another good segue for Howard's talk a little bit later. So our third presenting sponsor from the company that quite literally built the peninsula. There's no other construction companies in here. So WM Jordan, Ron Lauster.
All right, nobody wants to hear the third sponsor go on and on for a long time, so I'll be brief. First of all, thanks for having us here today. WM Jordan is really committed to communities that we build in, and we do this by building much more than structures. We build leaders that make a difference and impact on everybody's lives by doing the right thing. We empower our people by giving them responsibility, authority, and support in every step of the way. We engage in lifelong learning, health and wellness, and advancing innovation. The result is we create project teams that do everything that they possibly can to make their clients' lives better and do a good job, putting their needs always first, customers first. This is why we believe so strongly in programs like Lead Peninsula and supporting the Hampton Roads and Peninsula Chamber of Commerce's. We encourage our employees to get involved in the communities, make a difference in the communities that they live and they work in, and that's so important. See, we are enjoying 63 years of being in business right here, building in the Peninsula, and I really appreciate that introduction, Bob. I couldn't have planned that any better. The Peninsula, Newport News, is our home office and our base of operations. And over our 63 years, yes, we've expanded, and we are so fortunate to be recognized by our peers as one of the largest construction companies in the nation, in the top 200. And we did that by building in Hampton Roads, building in Virginia, and expanding the Carolinas. But we did this by bringing our clients' dreams to life and doing everything that we can to hopefully exceed their expectations. And sure, we did this by doing a good job, right? But we did this by networking. We did this by learning and understanding our clients' challenges, what their opportunities are for the future, and using our unique strengths to overcome these challenges for success and to make a difference. And if that sounds familiar, it should, because those are the exact goals of the Lead Peninsula. To create programs that really make a difference, which is what this is here today. And so today I'm here before you not to talk about WM Jordan, but really to congratulate all of you for participating in this incredibly impactful program. The 2021 class of the Lead Peninsula, and especially our own Brandon Knight, our business development manager, for participating in this. We really appreciate it. So congratulations to you all. And I also want to say thank you very much to Bob McKenna and the entire staff of the Peninsula Chamber of Commerce for the incredible work that they do, and especially the board of directors for making such a big difference in supporting local business and supporting our region. So thank you very much, and everybody, congratulations. I appreciate your time.
Good afternoon. I'm the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce. I think I know where I'm at. Howard is a wonderful man. I know him as a friend as much as a fellow board member. The one knock that I have on the gentleman is he went to the wrong university. He happened to go to this place called West Point, where they just hand out diplomas. So, but at the Naval Academy, you have to earn it. So. He doesn't want me to read his bio, but the bio is there. I do want you to read it at some point. What I will say about Howard is that he is a very, very strategic thinker. He could walk into some business right now and restructure it in about 30 seconds for the better. He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. And I don't say that very often. So, at further ado, I'd love to hear from Howard. Thanks.
Thanks for that, Kevin. That was actually really kind, except for the West Point part, which was unkind, which goes counter to what I want to talk about, which is social capital. But first, though, I just want to say thanks to Jamie, to Susie, to Bob, to Kevin for giving me the opportunity to share a few words. And to the best class ever of Lead Peninsula, I just wanted to say thank you all for raising your hand to be a part of making the community better. A lot of you were already doing that before you got here, but obviously your commitment to kind of go through the program speaks volumes about what you're going to do for us. And I'm grateful for that, and it's actually a little bit humbling and a little bit honoring. Newt, I really wanted to make the tie joke, man, about not tying a tie in 15 months, and you stole it right out from under me. So my script is all messed up now. I was going to keep referring to the tie. No, I do have to say, it does feel a little bit presumptuous for me when I stand in front of a room of leaders to talk about leadership, right? Tell you something about leadership. So what I hope is that you'll just take my words as affirmation for what you already know to be true as you go off to do the civic leadership thing out here. So I want to break my talk into two parts. The first is a little academic, and the second is a little bit story. And I want to talk about servant leadership, and I do want to talk about servant leadership and social capital. It was Bob and I didn't actually coordinate that, but it set it up perfectly. And so I've got this hypothesis, right, and many of you would share it. The hypothesis is that the best way to build social capital is through servant leadership, and that our community its success depends more on social capital than anything, all right? And so let me just kind of walk through. For me, civic leadership and organizational leadership are very similar, right? So in an organization, I, as a leader, am worried about strategy and about culture for my team, for my organization, right? And all of us would say that we operate best, we function best when the strategy and the culture are aligned, or there's a ton of ownership within the culture for the strategy, right? And then many of you are familiar with the quote that's attributed to Peter Drucker, which I've never seen that he actually said, but I'm going to attribute it to Peter Drucker too, right? One of the great 20th century management scholars, right? He said, culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? And we know that's true because strategy is built on assumptions and forecasts, and those are never true. And sometimes they're they're never, fully accurate, I should say, and sometimes they're wildly inaccurate. And when the wheels start to go off, it's the culture, man, of your organization that kind of keeps things together and gets us across the finish line, right? And I just described to the belief that the best way to build culture, which is going to be our most important asset, right? The best way to build culture is through servant leadership. And everybody knows that term. When I say servant leadership, what I'm saying is that my posture as a leader is not, sitting at the top of the organization, casting down my decrees with my brilliance and wisdom and all these other things, right? No, I humble myself to something bigger than myself. In the case of the Mariners Museum, for example, it's the mission of the Mariners Museum, right? That's number one. Number two is that job one for me is empowering and developing my people, right? So it's some service to something bigger than myself, and then it's empowering and developing my people. And isn't this true for civic leadership too? So if I were just to substitute in words, right? I, as a civic leader, am thinking about strategy and culture. Let's just put economic development policy in for strategy, and let's put social capital in for culture, right? And so what do I mean when I'm talking about social capital? It's defined in a lot of different ways. When I'm talking about social capital, what I'm saying is the degree to which, number one, everybody within the community identifies as one community, number one. And number two, it's some measure of the frequency and the quality of the social exchange, the interactions, the engagements between people in that community, right? And then for me, I believe that this is really important. I go back to the sort of takeaway, to the hypothesis, and I say again, I think our success as civic leaders depends on our success as servant leaders, right? And then I also believe that our success as a community depends more than anything on social capital in the community. Why? Because social capital eats economic development for breakfast, right? We might say, maybe that'll be our quote, or lunch, as it were, right? Our quote will substitute lunch in. All right, so that's the academic part, right? That's me kind of throwing some abstractions out there, but things that are important to me, even if I do them myself imperfectly. And so now I just want to tell some stories, and I'm going to tell a story kind of through the perspective of the Mariners Museum, right? Because that's the perspective that I've got here in the region. And I would tell you 5 years ago, the Mariners Museum was essentially irrelevant. And the measures for that is declining visitation, declining revenue, and entire segments of our community that weren't present in the galleries and weren't present in our programs, right? And so in order to address that, we had to start thinking about ourselves differently, right? So first, instead of thinking about ourselves merely as an attraction, where we're in a transactional relationship with the members of the community, right? Where the whole point is to try to sell you a ticket to get you in here, to get you to write a check to support the museum, to get you, right? All of these things. And my whole thing is thinking about all the programs I'm going to develop to do for you and the exhibit I'm going to do for you and all these kinds of things, right? Where it's all very self-centered, right? And we started to think about ourselves as a community resource in service of our community. And if we're going to start thinking about ourselves differently, we also have to start thinking about the problem differently. Instead of being squirreled over here, kind of thinking about the strategy, you know, and kind of coming up for air every once in a while and floating something out, right? We got to start thinking about culture. We got to start thinking about social capital. So first, we defined a new mission for ourselves, right? We say now today that the Mariners Museum and Park connects people to the world's waters, because through the waters, through our shared maritime heritage, we're connected to one another, right? We connect people to the world's waters because that's how we're connected to one another. It's fundamentally about social capital. And our first step to start operationalizing that was to lower the financial barrier to entry to our institution. I can't, on the one hand, say we're about building social capital in the community and then charge $14 a person to come in and exclude whatever percentage of the community can't afford that to come in. And some people said, well, why $1? Why not free, right? Well, we chose $1 so that we could answer that question, right? We chose $1 because through the water, we're one city, one region, one nation, one world, $1. Okay? Everything's social cats. Identify as a community. We dropped the price of admission to $1 for the first time in August 2016. A typical August for us, prior to that, was 5,500 visitors in our galleries. That month, after we adopt $1 admission as a way to operationalize $1 admission to operationalize our brand new mission statement, we went from 5,500 visitors to over 39,000 visitors that single month. We more than tripled the number of kids in our galleries, which was like, what are these little half people running around the museum? We had never seen these people in the museum before, right? I want to focus specifically on the African American community here on the peninsula, because that is a segment of the community with whom we had no relationship as an institution. 13% of our visitors were African American that month. To put that into perspective, the American Alliance of Museums did a study some number of years ago where they reported nationally 4.5% of African Americans report going to art museums, right? The Chrysler Museum, when they went to free admission, they were celebrated in a publication by the American Alliance of Museums for achieving 9% visitation among African Americans. We had 13. That's not the finish line, but I share all of that just to say, so the people are starting to show up, right? Now, what I'm standing here today to tell you is, I have no idea. I shouldn't say I have no idea. I can't measure or quantify yet whether or not we are successfully building social capital in the community today. But I want to tell you two quick stories that make me optimistic about the servant leadership approach. Go first, give away your gate in order to get people into the gate, provide access, right, with an eye towards building social capital. And the first story is I'm walking through the galleries on the last day of the month, August 31st of 2016, the first time we tested $1 admission. And I meet an older African-American gentleman, and he's walking through the galleries pushing a stroller, and I'm guessing that that's probably his grandson in the stroller based on the difference in their age. And I stop him and I thank him for being there. Thank y'all for being there. Where are you from? We're from right here in Hampton. We don't get a chance to come to the museum much. Well, I'm grateful that you're here today. And he says, you know, I'm a retired shipyard worker. I said, I did not know that. I said, you might know the history of the museum. We were built by Newport News Shipbuilding. He said, I did know that. And then I'm telling you, he kind of just, chin went up a little bit, shoulders went back a little bit, and he said, how many people do you think can say worked on a nuclear aircraft carrier and a nuclear sub? I said, not many. And it was then I'm realizing I'm standing here talking to him here. He's just coming out of our Defending the Seas gallery. In the Defending the Seas gallery, we've got a cutaway of a sub, and we've got the ready room of an aircraft carrier. And I don't know what he's doing in there, but he's just shared his past with me. I like to believe that he was in there telling his grandson, I built that. I built that. That makes me optimistic that, number one, we had an exchange, and number two, that he might be identifying with the museum and this broader maritime heritage, step towards social capital. Again, building social capital, I don't believe that this is, if it's a strategy thing, right, I build the program and then I go market it to people, okay? Well, if I don't have a relationship with somebody, marketing to people doesn't work. It feels like spin, it feels like, it doesn't work. You have to build relationships. So we want to tell a more full and complete history, maritime history. So we went out to Ivy Baptist Church, Pastor Kevin Swan, who many people in the room know because he's very active with respect to civic leadership. Would you bring your church to the Mariners Museum? We want to do a program, this is during Black History Month of 2019, on the African and African American maritime experience. So we brought 150 of his parishioners to the museum, and we did a program. We talked about the fact that the first person to design a ship using a computer was an African-American woman, that 7 of the crew members on the USS Monitor, the little ship that saved the nation, that battled the Virginia just 6 miles from here, right, out in Hampton Roads, 7 crew members, African-American, right? We talked about all the contributions of that segment of our community. And then afterwards, everybody that attended went out into the galleries. And I came up to a young family, mom, dad, and a little 10-year-old girl named Taylor. And I walked up and I said, greeted them, thanked them for being there. And I looked at Taylor and I said, how old are you? And she said, I'm 10. I said, what was your favorite thing about being at the Mariners Museum today? Right? And I'm expecting her to talk about something that she saw, right? Like some of you that have been to the museum know, like about the Lancaster Eagle, right? It's a massive golden gilt, it's beautiful, kind of greets you as you enter and things. I'm expecting something like that, that she's going to say. And she's sitting there and she's thinking. She's taking the question really seriously. She's thinking, and then she starts to smile a little bit like she's about to blow my mind, which is not as tough a task as I think she thought it was going to be. But she did, because she said, learning things you don't learn in school. Whew. I get a little emotional when I think about that. But I share it with you because the things that have outflowed from lowering the barrier to entry and trying to engage and trying to be very, very purposeful, it's in our mission now to try to build social capital, is we now have raised sponsorships in order to go out and offer free educational enrichment programs to all the public school kids in the region, things like this, right? We've got a hidden histories program to try to tell a more full and complete history and things like this. And lest we think that social capital and servant leadership, which sound like these kind of soft things, like they're really just about making people feel good or something like that, I'll tell you just now, this is pure self-interest, right? By giving away the gate, by going first, by serving first. We received the largest gift in the museum's history, a $10 million endowment to permanently endow $1 admission. And we're now raising endowment to permanently endow free educational enrichment programs for the school kids in our region, right? So guess what? If you want to set aside all of the things about, like, it's the right thing to do and I care about the community and all these other things, and therefore I'm going to invest in social capital, I would tell you there's really good business sense in getting out of your own way and going out and to serve. And now I feel like I'm a little bit on a soapbox. I'm starting to point and stuff. I don't mean that. I don't mean that aggressively, and I don't think that people here aren't doing that. I just want to really, really underscore how important I think this is for our community. And again, I don't want to represent that I'm perfect at this or the Mariners Museum is perfect at this, but it's an approach and a set of ideas that I've come to really, really believe in. And as we think of now about this being the completion ceremony, right? You all are done with the program, now you're going to go out into the world. I think it's going to be easiest when you think about the program, to think about the economic development side. All the things that I was exposed to, the knowledge, right, the information, the stuff that feeds the strategy side of the equation. And I just really want to encourage you to also think hard about that relationship side too. Because in the end, I think that's the thing that's going to be the key and the ticket to our community success. So thank you for your indulgence of a few minutes and a few words. It really is an honor to be in the room with so many people that I recognize as friends and things like that. I'm really looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to do the kind of commencement exercise here in a second, and we're going to call each of you up, and you're going to come across the stage. We're going to take a picture, and we're going to look at the camera and smile without mask on. But before we go into that, I just wanted to say, and several of you have already come up and said, man, Howard was amazing. I'm going to the museum this weekend. So I just wanted to say, so I hear Howard talk a lot because he's on our executive committee and our board, and he's a friend of mine. But he's always very good. But every time he talks, I come away inspired. So that was fantastic. So thanks very much for that, Howard. And when Kevin introduced him, he said something about him being a strategic thinker. And a lot of times when you hear that somebody's a strategic thinker, you think professorial, pedantic. You don't think passionate, right? You think a scientist like these guys down here. Like, no, I'm just kidding. So, yeah, so much for the sponsorship from SSAI. So Howard kind of put the myth to that, right? I mean, he's a passionate servant leader who's also a strategic thinker. So the other thing, I'm always inspired when I hear him talk. I always learn when I hear him talk. So thanks again. Okay, so now we're going to get started. Sorry, SSAI, I didn't really mean that.
Okay, so I'm going to call your names. If you will walk up from the right side of the stage, looking at the stage, cross over, pause for a picture, and then you guys can go back to your seat. Okay, so we're going to start with Colonel Allen Heritage. Karen Alsbrook. Brian Baines. Steed Barnes. Joanne Blanchette. Battalion Chief Thomas Brettbill. Crystal Bright. Bethany Carrill. Lauren Childs Gleason. Lieutenant Jessica Collins. Andrew Dean. Jesse Goodrich. Assistant Fire Chief Anthony Jackson. Michael Jones. Amy Jordan. Tracy Kosler. Brandon Knight. Joel Kraus. Jameson LeClaire. Amber Limpke. Alexis Martin. Yuri Milligan. David Mahadran. Lieutenant Bianca Moore. Heidi Nitka. Kanita Ricks. Alicia Riley. Fire Chief David Rose. Matthew Stern. Dr. Sherwin Stewart. Brendan Summers. Colonel Chesley Thigpen. Josh Torres. Nina Ulrich. Lakisa Ward. Travis Wells. We have a few individuals who weren't able to come to the ceremony today. Assistant Fire Chief Todd Ackerson, Brian Day, Katie Henderson, Michelle Hergenrother, Becky Pack-Bowen, and Caitlin Shannon. Congratulations to the class of 2021, the best class ever. We're now going to ask the presenting sponsors one by one to come up. We have a special token for you. For SSAI, Virginia Natural Gas, last but not least, WM Jordan Company. And I'll now ask that Bob present our special token for our guest speaker, Howard Hagee, and to our chairman of the board, Kevin Joyce. Quickly, before I turn it back over to Bob for our closing remarks, you have some really great goodies from our presenting sponsors in those bright green bags, so make sure to take those with you. You also have your alumni lapel pin in there, and you also have your lead coin in there as well, so please do not leave those behind. Thank you guys so much. It's been a pleasure having you guys in the class this year. Bob, take it away.
Am I on? How about if I just yell? Good? All right. All right, so my closing remarks are going to be very brief. And if you believe that, I got a bridge I want to say. No, so I'd like to recognize a few individuals real quickly, and with just a little token of our respect and admiration and gratitude. These are the perfect attendees. And even throughout a virtual, hybrid, in-person kind of schedule, which wasn't perfect, but it was as perfect as it can be. Once again, thanks to Jamie. So everybody give a hand for Jamie. So I probably said this to you before, but I want to talk about Jamie a little bit. Part-time employee, full-time value. So she works for us for 20 hours a week. She gives us 40 hours or 50 hours of value. And she runs this course. We give her just kind of basic rudder corrections, and that's it. And she does everything else. So while it wasn't a perfect year, it was as perfect as it could possibly be, thanks to Jamie. Thanks, Jamie. Okay, so here's the perfect attendees. And just coincidentally, 3 of them are from the same organization. So I have to call my friend Jennifer Boykin and say thanks. So Ms. Joanne Blanchette. She's like, I got to walk in these shoes again. You don't have to come up.
Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Michael Jones. I'm going to meet you halfway to get this hurried along, because you're a slow walker. Jameson LeClaire. And he was at every one because he's the youngest guy. I told him he had to be at every one. So.
And
Thanks.
I'm a millennial, so this is highly unusual.
That absolutely. But he's comfortable with the online stuff because he didn't have to get out of bed early in order to make it. Ms. Yuri Milligan. Thanks, Yuri. And like I said, we will be working together a lot, I think. Lieutenant Bianca Moore. All right, LT. Oh. Ms. Kenita Ricks. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Mr. Travis Wells. Travis wants to play me in one-on-one. I think I can take him.
I'll win.
I'll post him up. And a separate level of perfect, we had somebody who actually made every event, every program day, and also came to the virtual networking events. Brandon Knight. Thanks. Good job. I'm all talked out. Hey, I really appreciate this day, and I really appreciate this class. I know I went through Civic last year, and so half of our year was taken up by the pandemic, and it was virtual, and it was not great. And we kept calling ourselves the most resilient class ever, which is kind of strange, right? But you guys really, you were troopers. We appreciate your feedback. We understand some of your concerns, and it's going to be better next year. But you guys have a special place in my heart, and I still want to have coffee with all of you. And so call me up, maybe. All right. Thanks. Take care.